When Arlen's local gas monkey, Hank Hill, is thought to be beating his son like a wench's soiled rug, the government enlists their most Chad-pilled, child-protecting soldier to take the case.
I am on my way.
As an introduction to this cast of characters, the pilot transforms an otherwise grim exploration of potential child abuse into a very smart way of literally interrogating the neighborhood. We see that the Garbage Pail Crew is populated by a conspiracy cuck, a non-thinking goon, a dad with deeply repressed emotions that makes it difficult for him to express his love for the people he cares about, even though he finds a great degree of joy when he is able to break through that awkwardness, teaching us that life is indeed too short not to live authentically and earnestly, despite the emotional risks that could cause us discomfort. Oh, and also a guy with the most fuckable speech impediment ever. Talk about dang old about time y'all showed up here. I've been trying to get a hold of y'all for a dang old week now. That first mention down the street there has just been messing up a whole dang week now. Every time I come outside, I smell like cottage cheese, and I just hear those dang dogs going yip, 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 and it's just every single fucking night. It's just a yip fest all the time. What am I saying? My God, no wonder Anthony ran away. The man was about to fall under a siren's song and crash himself upon the shores of Boom. Too bad this fun and fancy-free pilot story about investigating child beatings is marred by a few cardboard cutout character archetypes, ones who lack any notable personality traits at this point, and who only serve to detract from the overall experience, much in the same way that Bowser being a wholesome dad sounds good on paper, but then you spend 2 fucking seconds with Bowser Jr. and you're left wishing that Bowser either hadn't donated his sperm or had just stayed gay. Aggressively homosexual parental lizards aside, we see that the Hill family is either hilariously uptight, delightfully naked, bland as abstinent oatmeal, or the meanest little shit you have ever met. You know, they say that your true character comes out when you think no one is watching, but clearly Bobby's real nature is revealed when he believes that he is beyond punishment. Because when Twig Boy messes up the investigation, Booby Hill is given his golden ticket to mess with his dad in much the same way that Grandpa Joe was able to mess with poor Charlie. And it may be easy for some to say, oh, well, boys will be terrorists, and just shrug this whole thing off as a goof, but it ain't easy for me, goddammit. I despise this early characterization of Bobby, especially since he doesn't really face any consequences for his actions. When that little shit Caleb does the exact same stuff that Bobby's doing in this episode, the fans will rightfully scream for Caleb's blood. But when Bobby does it, oh, all he gets is a cheerful I love you at the end. Give me a break.
I love you no matter what you do there. Phew! Let's go get something to eat.
My lord, what a terrible lesson for the children this is. Do whatever you like and then give a half-hearted apology and twist the issue into something completely irrelevant to your actions to just excuse the whole thing. Bleh. Now, if I were the kind of goober who forms my morals from episodes of comedic TV shows, then I would be quite displeased at the low moral fiber of this pilot parable. But I am a simple, semi-literate, mean-spirited, non-productive subhuman that just wants to be entertained by a cartoon that's almost 30 years old. Come on. And for me, entertainment is the factor that's the king of this hill, and the fact that I only get a single booty-blasting fart clap is a major disappointment.
Hello?
Mother of God, it's all toilet sounds.
I don't know, just as an introduction to the tone of the show, this episode is fine. It's about as slow and easygoing as we're ever gonna get, with plenty of stage setting to form a perfectly serviceable and inoffensive beginning. It certainly does a fine job in establishing the emotional core of the show and lays out the dolls that we'll be playing with, but I can't say that I seek the pilot itself out for its entertainment value alone. You are never gonna catch me saying, oh, you know what sounds like a really good episode? You know what I really am just in the mood to watch right now? The first episode of King of the Hill. That sounds like a good time to me. I don't really care about it. There's also really nothing about the pilot itself that drives me to seek out the next episode, no dangling sense of wonder or curiosity. This is much less of a like, ooh, a first date that ends with a sultry kiss or a suspiciously grippy handshake, and more of a like, oh, thanks for helping me pass the time by taking me to the movies, bud, toodles type thing. Getting hit with toodles ain't a good sign. This episode just does a little too good of a job in properly answering all of its posed questions and leaves Hank and Bobby in a very complete place, a spot that I really don't want to see disturbed. It's like, okay, if we keep watching the show, then something's gonna go wrong, and I'm kinda okay with them just being where they are now. If anything, the father-son pair will actually drift quite far apart in future scenarios, meaning that this is one of the very rare moments of true affection, one that isn't dependent on the two sharing an interest or skill set.
all this being father and son is finally gonna pay off.
Bobby's concern about being a disappointment to his dad is a valid one, as Hank certainly goes through phases of being despondent about his son's talents or social viability. The end of this episode is perhaps the only time where Hank shows love for Bobby without needing to be impressed by the kid's talents, his intellect, or his ability to gobble steak like there's a golden plate underneath it. It's a really tough situation for me to get my head around, because I like Hank demonstrating that he does in fact love Bobby no matter what, no matter how awful he acts, but I don't like how Bobby manipulates us to get there. Some waffle-eating wackos out there may say that this ending serves as the ultimate answer to the question of Hank's love for Bobby, meaning that we don't need a repeat performance of this whole no-strings-attached type of affection, but I don't think a pilot should be handing out such grand final statements like that.
He punched him! I knew it! I told him! Did you see that?
Mother of God!
As I've thought more and more about this show over the years, I've come to realize that it presents itself as a comedy, but has the bones of a drama. I do recognize that the comedic aspects influence the drama and help keep the pot from boiling over, such as the whole Dale, Nancy, John Redcorn thing, which must be kept as a running joke or else it threatens to make the whole show's dramatic core go nuclear. Expanding upon that metaphor, laughter is the water that we use to pour over the dramatic carbon rods, leaving us with a nuclear power plant that gives the show more than a decade of energy. And sure, yes, it is quite frustrating when the show isn't willing to play with the more baked-in dramatic elements in a more direct way, but when the possibility of a catastrophic meltdown is this high, I don't fault the writers for wanting to keep things easy breezy. Just have the pilot poke fun at stuffy government overregulation, climate change deniers, and top it all off with a big bowl of BC headache powder. All in all, I would say that the pilot does a serviceable job at making us understand that this show is not a boring slice of life comedy, but a subtle cut of messy Americana lasagna, one that allows for funny moments to come from a mirror of our own mundane lives. It is one step above average, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Hank put in a ton of work here, but everybody else really dragged it down. And that's been my bare bones review. Toodles! Okay, not quite toodles yet. I want to quickly explain why I did this video and why I did it in this way, because I bet you were pretty confused when you saw this come up in your feed. Basically, it takes me forever to do an hour-long video. Even an hour and a half is like 4 days of work. And that makes every single upload I do feel pretty stressful and means that each one has to be a banger, or else I just wasted a week on something that people dislike. Plus, some viewers have told me, some respectfully, some not, that they want me to stick closer to the episode itself and to not bring in other shows, real-world issues, or anything not King of the Hill related into the discussion. In fact, as one viewer put it, quote, "I literally clicked on this video to get away from reality." Now, that does sound like someone who's asking to be put into a coma to me, but I do get the sentiment. My last video was simply too much effort, too ranty, and too political for a show that had Hank shake George Bush's hand, Peggy teach sex ed, Dale hunt bounties for the government, and had Bill steal a tank from the army. So I decided to strip all of that challenging stuff out and give the people what they've been asking for, a cut and dry analysis of King of the Hill episodes, nothing more and nothing less. But, I do reserve the right to still do the longer, full review-to-death style videos in whatever cringy fashion that I choose, because the last time I checked my watch, I own this channel, it's my show, and I don't want to have to censor myself or allow other people to, decide how I get to talk about a subject. But in this case, the benefits of doing a limited style format does appeal to me for numerous reasons, so I am willing to meet the critics halfway, so don't you ever say I don't listen to feedback. And really, these bare bones reviews are meant for the people out there who enjoy my content but would prefer to see me drill down and focus a bit more, or at least focus to the best of my ability, no promises there, but it is all intended to just be the essentials here, a fundamental analysis of the episodes, and hell, I'm even giving them a score out of 10. How much more fundamental and basic could I be? And to keep myself restricted, I am limiting all of the bare bones videos to be no longer than 10 minutes, so you can watch them on your lunch breaks or between pregnancy cramps or whatever. Hell, these videos may even be nice for folks who enjoy the long stuff too. I don't know. This is all a big experiment. But what I can tell you is that having a limited format like this should give me the freedom to try reviewing other shows without having to spend 8 workdays on a series that no one may care about. And if videos on other shows present good enough numbers, then I'll start doing the longer, more in-depth analysis for whatever episode or series pops off. When I said I was going full-time on YouTube, you bet your sweet ass that I meant it. So, thus ends the first episode of this new series, Bare Bones Reviews, and if you want to see a more full analysis of this episode or others like it, then please check out my full reviews.
I am on my way.